Everybody, good day. Happy Monday to you guys. We're about to get rocking and rolling here. Just a quick little announcement for those of you guys who are here. And this is just a short one, but for those of you guys who you're dealing with something where you're stuck or you need help or you want a outside pair of eyes or some strategies or mindset stuff, feel free to reach out to me personally, because I end up using all these ideas for content and stuff like that anyway. So you're not really taken from me or anything like that. And this is just a private little thing. I'm happy to do whatever I can in a little chat. As you guys know, I don't do the meetings and phone calls, but happy to help you guys look at whatever you need looked at. And, your offers, your agency, your strategy, your hiring, whatever. So that's all I got for my quick little announcement. Hamoon, brother, good to see you. Let's get into the good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. All right, so Eric asked a really good question here to start with. He says, what is the best mindset to have during a sales call? I'll give you kind of like the bad version of what not to do and the good version of what I found to work best. Now, of course, I never want to tell you there's only one way you can be successful. There's a lot of ways you guys can be successful, but I want to just share with you guys what's worked best for us, for our, mastermind members, for our team members, for the people I've hired and so forth. So the worst thing to do is to be thinking what I call with commission breath. So I'm sure you guys have experienced something you've bought in your life where the salesperson just saw you as another name and number and would do anything in the world just to sell you and say what they need to do and do what they need to do. And what happens in commission breath is you're always trying to lead the sales conversation forward before it's ready to be pushed forwards. And what ends up happening is the person can sense on some level that you just don't give a fuck with them, and it's created this thing where it's totally okay to lie to salespeople. And so the worst thing you can do is be thinking about how can I sell my product, and instead what you want to do, what I found to work best, is what one of my mentors calls the 3 C's, which is caring, concern, and curiosity. And if you have those three, again, caring, concern, and curiosity, what you'll find is you can actually come from a position to actually help people. And I compare this to what works best in a sales conversation is not that different than what would work if you were talking to a friend. So if a friend said to you, I just had a down month, I'm not really sure what's up. If you're thinking with commission breath, then you're going to go, well, my 1, 2, 3 ABC system can help you fix that problem, blah, blah, blah. But if you're thinking from a place of caring, concern, and curiosity, you're going to say, oh no, bro, what happened? And you're going to go, oh man, it sounds like this, right? You're going to really listen and be present with them. And so when you come from caring, concern, and curiosity, and this works, by the way, whether you do this in chat, you'll become more present with people and you'll stop trying to rush conversations to the sale, and you'll just try to understand where the other person is coming from. And I'll tell you, a lot of times, if you don't actually embody those attitudes, what will happen is it will come across insincere. I've had people use my questions, and the person doesn't respond to the question the way they respond to me or to someone else who's doing it. And the reason is often because I'm genuinely curious and concerned and caring when I'm asking. And if you just use it as a copy and paste script, but not actually be those things. So I used to do this when I used to do sales calls. I would write those three things down, the 3C, caring, concern, and curiosity. And I would remind myself to get into that state so you can actually connect with another human being. And the simplest thing you're looking for is just tell me what's not working, tell me where you're trying to go. That's really all you're looking for, is becoming present with their goals and their situation. You do that, and what you'll find is your sales calls will automatically all get better. Or whether you have those conversations in chat, or whether you make a marketing video, like a Loom video, and send that, it'll get better if you're coming from caring, concern, and curiosity, because it inevitably thinks more about the other person and less about yourself and what you have to gain. Paul says, is anybody still doing physical direct mailing? I just sent out 79 in the last 2 weeks and landed 2 so far. 1 is a website design and 1 is a 1K per month SEO. 2 is a 1.5K per month SEO. So I just added $2,500 per month for about a day's work. Amazing, this still works. Paul, that is badass. We have a few people in our mastermind, self-included, that are big direct mail people. And I'll tell you why I'm big on direct mail. In the book Tools of Titans, Tim Ferriss talked about what he liked to do is ask himself really good questions that would lead to good answers. And so he kept a library of really good questions that would help him figure out situations. And one of those things is whenever he was trying to connect with somebody in like a, whether that's a marketing piece or face to face, he would ask himself, what is the least crowded channel? And so he wanted to go where not all the competition, not all the noise is. Now, having said that, most marketers will go to the most competitive, most crowded places because it's the cheapest and the easiest. For example, it's very easy to send an email outreach. And I'm not saying email outreach doesn't work, just the reality of it is because it's easy, it is by far infinitely more crowded. So to stand out from the noise, often like when you send a letter in the mail, you're the only one sending a letter. People basically only get bills in the mail these days. So I find it works really, really well. Having said that, I saw your picture and there were all these like really awesome customized mail. That's really cool. You could probably do a lot more with that using click to mail, and instead of having it take you a day, have it take you 10 minutes, because click to mail allows for like mass personalization, meaning I can send a letter to Andy and it goes to Andy, and then I can send a letter to Beth and it says Dear Beth, and I can send a letter to Carl and it says Dear Carl, and each person gets a personalized version of that letter. So I would check out click to mail, and you can probably take that to the next level, Paul. All right, Johan says, I'm creating a display campaign for remarketing and I'm stuck in the disapproved image quality loop of hell. I've tried dozens of stock images from the display campaign creation and none is approved. How to get around this stupid thing? I picked this question actually because I'm dealing with the same thing, and it's almost comical because we're doing a lot of retargeting on AdWords and we're running a lot of banner ads, and we'll upload 11 different sized banner ads, and Google will have just a problem with just one of the banner ads, even though they're literally all the same, right? Like they're different shapes and sizes, but they all say and do the same thing. But for whatever reason, this one banner ad, they don't like that one. Sometimes it helps, we found, to just message Google, talk to somebody right there and then, say, can you tell me why this one is not working and the others weren't? And sometimes they can manually override it. I've also found that it's usually not actually the image you're using, it's the text and the things like that. So if you just make those bigger and more readable, or if you're using Canva, another thing that helps is by default, I think it outputs them in JPEG format, but if you do, like, there's a version where you can download like a high quality print version, that helps as well, because it's usually like a resolution issue. But my best advice is just talk to Google, because Google's fucking crazy, and it's an algorithm flagging you, not a human being. And so if you connect with a human being, they can often manually override it. So that means getting on the Google chat, waiting 10-20 minutes, talking to somebody, and that should get you over the hump. Nick says, I feel like I've been seeing an insane amount of we'll get you this amount of leads, appointments, jobs, or we'll refund you and pay you $1,000 on my feed, LOL. Are these all conditional guarantees? Anyone ever actually paying the client $1,000 and giving money back? And are you making your client call their 876 times so they can't reach the guarantee terms? It's literally everywhere now, says Nick. Nick, you are correct in your assessment. This is one of the things is I always say, like, marketers ruin everything. They really do, right? So like there's this element of, if one marketer finds something that's working, they sell the idea, and what ends up happening is it may work for a while, but once a bunch of people copy it. Case in point, one of my good friends, Peter, built the largest Facebook ad agency in Europe, and he was the first person to offer guaranteed Facebook ads, 2-to-1 return on ad spend. And he cleaned up for months and months and months doing that. And then what ended up happening is somebody came out with a course that said, that's how you get Facebook ads, client. And suddenly, like, hundreds of people had his same messaging. I've had this happen in the legal space a couple of times too, where a bunch of people copied me, and suddenly overnight my messaging stopped working. This is why it's so important, and people have a hard time with this, is when you create offers, if you want to be around for like 5 or 10 years, or 20 years and actually have a real business, you cannot copy somebody else's system verbatim. You have to innovate at least a little bit. And I'll tell you, the most important part to innovate is the part of it where, as long as you're selling to humans, I've heard that before, is significantly harder to sell than, hey, that sounds new. And so your job as like the business owner is to take your offer and figure out how to make it new and exciting. And sometimes it can be really tricky in competitive niches that have been around for a long time, like SEO, things like that. Like, do you have to specialize it? Do you have to work at a certain type of client for your SEO? Do you switch it to rank and rent? Do you add something else to your SEO? Do you combine it with public relations and media and things like that? It takes some work sometimes to get out of that box, but I'm telling you, it's well worth it, because you'll make your sales life easier and you'll stand out from all the other marketers, which are copying and pasting each other, which works for a while, but then eventually marketers ruin it. I saw the same thing. Ty Lopez had a course for breaking through in like general contractor niches like roofing and concrete and those kind of things, and he had an outreach message that worked, and then he sold the course 50,000 times, and now 50,000 people are all sending the same outreach message to contractors. It's a lot harder to stand out with that same message. I'm sure it worked in the beginning. So it is your job to come up with new and exciting ways, and I'm glad you brought that up, Nick, because yes, there is a whole bunch of people doing that. I know the marketer who's teaching people that methodology, and what ends up happening is too many people copy and paste it. It stops working in a whole bunch of niches. You get the idea. Jose says, can anyone guide me on how to pay overseas employees, in the sense of what do you need to add to your payroll expenses in your monthly expenses, and what forms you need? Jose, I don't know if this is exactly how you mean the question, but we pay people using TransferWise. Also, it's just called Wise now. I've used PayPal and also Zoom in the past, but I like TransferWise. It goes right to their bank. It has the lowest fees. And then as far as paperwork, it sounds like you're an American. There is a W-8 BEN, it is called. It is a form for contractors overseas, and it just basically says you'll file taxes in your own country, and I'm writing off this amount in my home country, and that's basically it. It's just a little one-page document called a W-8 BEN. You can Google that and find that. Mia says, hey guys, I want to generate enrollments for Montessori and alternative schools. What would you offer this niche? Mia, I'm not necessarily saying this is the only way you could be successful, but I'll tell you the most successful people I have that have like real worldy brick and mortar things that are like kind of mass market appeal, they usually have some kind of like free workshop, free event. And the event is like the real world equivalent of like a carefully structured webinar where you give them some content and some value, but at the end of that, it's a pitch for the ongoing thing. And doing those like once or twice a week for like 2-3 hours can like really dramatically work well. So I've seen this in I have some friends in New York who have a really awesome karate studio, and they basically have a free event where you can learn the fundamentals of karate and how to stand up to a bully and those kind of things. And they have different variations of it. People come in for the 2-hour class, and inevitably a percentage of those people want to buy the regular class. And then they also have an upsell for like get your guaranteed black belt in a year and a half for like $5,000 or something like that. But there's a process, and their kind of like front end lead is like a real worldy workshop where you can kind of get like a free sample taste of what they do. I suspect in your case that would work really well in the Montessori school niche. Now, I don't necessarily have experience with that niche, so take it with a grain of salt. You got to test everything, but I have a feeling that would work really well in your niche, so give it a try. Shehiraryar, sorry, I can't say your name, brother, but I appreciate the question. He says, hello everyone, I'm running an Amazon marketing agency for the past 2 years, provide Amazon growth services to Amazon sellers, can't understand how I can reach Amazon sellers and increase my clients. Can anyone guide me on this? Well, first place to look, my friend, is on Amazon, because that's where they are, right? And then the question is like I have a couple of friends. One comes to example, like I would search her company name. They almost always have their own website that you can reach out to them, and they sell the same things they do on Amazon privately. They can't advertise that on Amazon, but they're a lot easier to reach on their private website. You may also want to consider sending them a piece of mail, but like just pick a few keywords of niches you're looking for. Like say you're in the supplement niche on Amazon, start looking for supplements, click on those, then look at the company, Google the company, and I'd be surprised if you didn't find at least a whole bunch of those that you could at least talk to about your Amazon growth services, because you're not going to be able to reach them over Amazon. That's probably the issue, is like, Amazon purposely protects those things and makes it so like people aren't taking them off of Amazon. But if you search them privately, they almost always have their own website where they're happy to have those conversations kind of separately. Josh says, what do you think is the key to being successful in any given niche? Obviously, like I don't think there's any one thing that like tells the whole story, but I'll tell you the thing I see most people skipping, Josh, is empathy. Like actually getting to know your marketplace. And a lot of times it's not just having empathy in terms of like being able to feel what they're going through. But it's also like every niche has its own vocabulary. Like I joke with our mastermind members, if we were sitting around at a dinner table and we were talking about click-through rates and sales calls and closing techniques and funnels and things like that, we would all understand one another. But if my 60-something-year-old mother was sitting there watching it, it would be like a total foreign language for her. Every niche has that. Like in the lawyer space, for example, there's something called a brief, which is a 10,000 word document, and they file motions, and there's court, and there, jurisdiction, and these are words that get thrown around all the time. And if you don't learn to use those words in a niche, you'll sound like an outsider and they'll know it. Like if you say to a dentist, I want to increase your customers. Well, a dentist doesn't call them customers, he calls them patients, or she calls them patients. And so they're not really going to listen to you. The message is not going to land. So the biggest thing is like really deep diving on the listening skills in your market. It's the step everybody wants to skip that most people, and people do this backwards. It's like people are like Amish. And I used to see this in my local city in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. So an example of like how Amish people are, there's like, I don't know, way too many auto body shops and way too many pizza places in my hometown. And I remember if you wanted an auto body shop, there's like literally like one every block. And it starts because a guy knows how to fix cars. And he thinks, I'd rather work for myself than someone else, so he starts his own shop. The problem is the market doesn't really need what he offers. Now, having said that, my last girlfriend drove a Volkswagen Beetle. She told me it was her dream car. Don't ask me why. And one of the things is I remember when we went to get it fixed, we would go to some of these like car repair places, and they would say, oh, we don't work on Volkswagens because they're specialty parts, it's too complicated. And they referred us to a guy who did all the Volkswagens in the city, and despite the fact that everyone else was competing hard for business, he found a niche within and was busier than anyone else, right? So almost always it starts with the need of the marketplace, and people want to skip that and go straight to, well, I have this thing, I have my SEO, I have my AdWords, I got certified in Facebook ads, I know how to do TikTok ads, and instead of like figuring out what the people need and then figuring out how to match that with what you do, they skip that step and then they create a whole bunch of difficulty, and it's a very, very important step in business. So I would say that's the most important thing, is do a deep dive, listen to your market, see who they are, what they want, and what they're really trying to do. Courage says, client says, I'm ready. What will you do next? What is your process of taking payments? Send the client an invoice and ask them to pay using PayPal. Provide them with a credit card form and ask them to fill the credit card details, and you process it using Stripe every month. Ask them for their credit card details on the call and process it while keeping the client on hold. What's your process of taking payments from the client? Courage, we actually have a really simple system for taking payments, and I've tried a lot of stuff over the years on that. Like I've used PayPal, obviously I've used Stripe, I've used different tools, I've used different funnels. Lo and behold, like we've tried a few things on that. And I'll tell you what for me has worked the best is we use Stripe combined with Zoho. Zoho is a free plugin, and what it does is it sets up automated payments very easily. And all we do is this simple one-liner, which is on a call or on a discussion with a client, is we just say, cool, it sounds like we're ready to go. Would it be okay if I just sent you the unfancy payment link? And usually the client will say, yeah, no problem, go send it over. Or, hey, I need a day to go sort this, but I'll take care of it by tomorrow. Or I'll grab that, I'm doing a few things, I'm out of the office, I'll grab it on Friday. Is that cool? That's it. That's the whole thing. We just send them the thing and it sets up the automated payments. Now, in your case, it sounds like you may want to put a hold on there because you need time to set up the account. You can put that into Zoho. You can put like a trial period, like I don't know if it's like a week, a setup time or whatever, so that like they don't get billed until the setup time is finished. Whatever works for you, my man. But I'll tell you, that's the simplest thing is we just old-fashioned, old school, ask if it's okay to send the payment link. And then when they say yes, we send the payment link, right? So that's it. And you can do that whether it's on a call, in chat. Doesn't really matter. It's the act of asking them first and letting know that we're, because what you're doing more than anything is getting an agreement that you're in the same place, that we have, in fact, come to a financial agreement about this sale that's going to take place. And so if you ask them for it and you say, hey, can I send it to you? They're usually like, yeah, okay, cool. And if you get some sort of like, well, I don't know about blank, I have to, talk to my partner or whatever, then you realize there's still an objection to be taken care of, or there's still a place where you guys aren't on the same page. So that's the other benefit, is you get to find out where you're really, really at in those situations. Hope that's helpful, my friend. Rock says, anybody have a lead magnet funnel they don't mind sharing? Rock, I will share with you the entire key to what I consider the lead magnet funnel to be. is there's two parts to having a lead magnet funnel that works, okay? Part one is a useful lead magnet, and I'll talk about what that is in just a second. And part two is what Frank Kern calls results in advance. And I'll give you an example of this in just a second. So I've done this horribly wrong, and let me tell you what most people do when it comes to creating lead magnets. And I've done this myself, so I'm not like, giving anybody a hard time. But we think we have to come up with these amazing, gigantic, really complex lead magnets. And so oftentimes people will write a 300-page PDF or, like this long-ass ebook or whatever that no one reads. Like, it's just like no one cares, and it sits on a hard drive and people download it. And I'll tell you, if somebody could get a result in 300 pages, or if somebody could get a result in 1 page, what do you think they would rather have? 1 page, right? Like, it's really obvious. So this should make your life a whole lot easier. I'll tell you, the best advice I ever got on lead magnets is from a guy named Nicholas Kusmich, who's a really smart Facebook ads guy, one of the top guys in Facebook ads. And his acronym stood for SAGE, which stands for short, actionable, goal-oriented, and educational. I'll say that again. Short, actionable, goal-oriented, and education. I'll give you a real-life example. One of the things that we ran for a lot of years with success, probably the most successful lead magnet I've had in my niche, was a lead magnet for lawyers, and it was like the 26 ways or 26-point checklist for what all the top law firms are using to generate more referrals. Now, if you compare this against the test, first of all, it was a 1-page checklist, right? So it's short, right? Like we mentioned, the first acronym is S. Second thing is it's action oriented. Like, these are things designed to be implemented, right? So you may not like implement all 26, but you may go, shit, I never thought about sending birthday cards. I should send birthday cards, right? It's goal oriented, right? It helps them get more referrals so it accomplishes something in their business. And it's also educational. And so I found the best lead magnets are the 1-page checklist. The 1-page checklist that actually helps them move the needle forward. So you just think about, what could I do in 15 minutes that would help somebody move the needle forwards? And I usually come up with just a little 1-page solution. And the other thing is that makes your ads so much easier to perform, because instead of writing like a, hey, we're the greatest at referrals, come try our company, we're awesome. Instead, I'm just saying, hey, we're giving away a free 1-page PDF that you can use in 15 minutes that all the top law firms are using to generate their referrals. It lays out all the strategies we found after talking to 2,500 lawyers across the country about what they're doing to generate referrals. It's free. Just click the button, download, enter your email, and it's yours, right? Like, it's much easier because it's a give what you're doing, and it helps them accomplish what they're trying to do. Now, the second thing is, what do you do after they've given you your email? Frank Kern calls this results in advance, and I think it's a great metaphor. He uses a metaphor of a dating person who's trying to, like, let's say they're trying to meet a long-term partner, or maybe they're just trying to get laid, whatever, like, but they're trying to meet somebody of the opposite sex. Well, the first thing they have to know how to do is to be able to talk to somebody. And they have to be able to walk to somebody and, like, kind of break the ice, if you will. And then they have to be able to have, like, some kind of a meaningful conversation to develop a connection. And then they have to be able to ask for a phone number. And then they probably have to be able to text and get a date, and then they probably have to go out on a date. So if Frank was creating content that he would send as, like, email follow-ups, if this is the steps somebody would have to get to that result, meaning they have to be able to talk to somebody, they'd have to be able to have a conversation, they'd have to be able to get the number, they'd have to be able to text them and get a date, and they'd have to have, like, a nice date. Well, then that's what his content would be about, is moving somebody towards the goal. And so what you want to think about is the problems your markets have, the people in your market have, the results they want to achieve, and those 3 to 5 milestones they have to achieve, and then you drip feed them stuff about that. And it's different than what everybody else does, because instead of trying to sell how great you are, you're showing you can help them by just actually helping them. So that is my best advice on lead magnet funnels. I've done a lot of funnels, but I now can make this work almost in any market. Just come up with a short, actionable download that helps them do what they want to do, and then actually help move them towards the goal, and you'll be amazed. A lot of times people think, well, they won't need me, and the truth is all the challenges are in the implementation side of things. So that's where they'll take you. Sorry, I got a crazy mosquito attacking me. All right. Kurt says, what are some good follow-up messages you send to someone who replied to your first cold outreach email looking for some ideas of what's been working to move the person to scheduling a call? Kurt, I'm going to give you two things that really help with us. This happens often where you start up a conversation with somebody and then for whatever reason the conversation fizzles out and you're trying to reignite it and you don't really know where to go. First thing that's going to be really, really important in understanding is why the person has not gotten back to you. Most times people think, falsely I might add, it is the false assumption, that they weren't interested in what I had to sell. And the truth is, the biggest reason usually is because the person simply got busy and had things to do, right? Like if you guys run a business, especially if you run a successful business, there's shit coming at you. I have employees asking me, I have clients asking me for things, I get email, I have prospects reaching out, I have sales conversation, I have things to manage, I have a sauna, I have new things we're working at. So if I drop a conversation, almost always it's not like a personal thing. So what will help you firstly is to stop taking it personally. And I use in my messages a combination of two things. One is humor. Humor is a powerful tool for reigniting conversation because it shows you didn't take it personally and you can be pleasantly persistent. And then the second thing is, I forget where I learned this from, but it's starting the conversation with no. Instead of saying, hey, do you want to buy my shit? It's the opposite is, did you decide to stop pursuing whatever the goal is that your thing would help accomplish? So I'll give you an example of this. This is one I've used for a lot of years, is I use a Lassie reference. I'll say, hey, let's call him Andy. Hey, Andy, I'm really concerned about you. I just got a sneaking suspicion you fell down a well and you're stuck somewhere because I haven't heard from you. If so, please, please, please have your dog come bark twice and I'll come rescue you. No, just kidding, Andy. I'm sure you've just been busy. Curious, did you decide to put getting ranked #1 in Google on the back burner for now? Right, so if you break down that message, it's really a two-part thing. It's a part one where what we're doing there is we're assuming that the reason they didn't respond to us is because they're busy. And by the way, most times that is the actual reason. Every now and then it's because they just don't want your shit or they didn't like you. But I'll tell you, 9 out of 10 times they just got busy. They just got forgot about. Your email may have been very important to you, but it wasn't to them. They got hundreds of them that day alone. And so the best thing you can do is just not take it personally, have a laugh, acknowledge their busyness in a humorous way, and then say, did you decide not to do that thing? Did you decide not to pursue that action? And it's easier for them to say no than yes. Hey, do you want to buy my thing still? It's hard to say yes to that. Did you decide not to do that thing? And what will happen in these is you won't automatically make the sale, but you'll reignite the conversation. Almost always you'll get the truth on the table, which is like, hey man, sorry, just been busy. I had planned to check this out on Friday. Is that cool? You'll be amazed at how far that'll take your conversation. And the other thing is you get to have fun with these sales conversations because now you realize they're just not responding because they're busy. And the best way to reignite it, just have a laugh about it. Just, send them the one no that they're going to say, of course I haven't given up on that. Or of course I have. And then what you'll find is you'll reignite those conversations and then you say, hey, if I wouldn't be too forward about this, why don't we just have a talk about it if sales calls are your thing in your case. And you'll be amazed you can reignite a whole bunch of conversations that way. So hope that's helpful to you, my man, Kurt. That is all the questions we have this week. I just want to remind you guys, I love doing this stuff. So if you guys have questions you want to send to me privately, if you're just looking for some help, some strategy, some feedback, some extra set of eyes, help with an employee, whatever, I use it all for content. So a lot of you guys, sometimes you're like, hey, I know you're busy. I'm really sorry. I don't mean to take your time, but I use this stuff anyway. So it's a win-win is what I'm saying. So you're not taking anything from me. And if I can't help you, I'll do my best to point you to someone who can. So if you guys are dealing with that, make sure just to reach out. Let me know. I love hearing from you guys anyway. You guys, like I say, are the coolest motherfuckers ever. And my hair is full of sand today. We went to the new beach yesterday and I can't get all the sand out of my hair. I can feel it. So that's why I keep scratching my head. Anyways, much love for you guys. That's all I got for you guys this way. I'll put the replay up on YouTube for those of you guys who want to check that out. Hope that's helpful to you guys in your own endeavors, and may the force be with you.